guys. Thank you for tuning in to the first episode of Deleasa Speaks. My name is Deleasa, and today we are going to be interviewing Jeffrey, the owner of MCA Fishing. Hey, Jeffrey, how are you?
Hey, how's it going?
Pretty good, pretty good. Thank you for taking out the time of your schedule to let me pick your brain.
Absolutely.
So, for those of you who aren't aware, my name is Deleasa. I am the newly published children's author of kids' book Aiden Goes Fishing. If you haven't got your copy, please click the link and go to Amazon today. So, Jeffrey, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Just a Southern town guy, man. Family oriented, just a go-getter, really. You just find different ways to, keep going and you just go. I mean, that's really me.
Definitely. So, tell me a little bit about MCA Fishing.
MCA is basically a brand that I created just to bring awareness to, a community of people that fish around Lake Okeechobee. I thought it was so significant because most of the people that, know about that lake or have, with it being such a historical lake, everybody come here. But there was nobody locally that was representing a representative of that large population of community. And so I saw a lane for it, and I knew just from watching through social media that I was gonna probably be the only one in that time frame that was gonna be doing it at that level, especially around the lake. Especially, and then as an African American male, I knew that I was gonna stand out quick, and so I created it, and from there, man, God just kind of took it and did what He did with it.
Awesome. So, what services do you provide?
So right now, MCA currently has a full seasonal curriculum that deals with seasonal fishing. So you got summer, spring, winter, and fall. But also in that, it teaches a massive amount of life skills. So more importantly than just teaching the sport of fishing, you also got to be able to dig down deep and get into those conversations that will ultimately enhance or give the kids or whoever it is that you're out on the lake with the opportunity to see things from a different perspective. And I feel fishing gives us that opportunity.
I definitely agree. Just to give you guys a backstory of how Jeffrey and I crossed paths, as I stated, I have the children's book called Aiden Goes Fishing. And the basis of the book is pretty much about a talkative little boy that lacks patience, and he's always getting into trouble. And he basically learns the importance of being quiet and having patience while going on a fishing trip with his grandfather. Definitely based on a true story. Aiden is my son. He is very much so talkative. We do enjoy the sport of fishing, and I definitely would agree that it includes that life skill that's I feel like so many people wouldn't even compare fishing with as far as patience and communication and just on a wide perspective of valuable lessons that you can learn, not even necessarily for kids, but anybody that's involved. So I was soliciting myself underneath fishing posts with people and their children. And I ran across Jeffrey's page because he does have a daughter. How old is your daughter, Jeffrey?
So Fallon is now 4.
Awesome. And she's a beautiful, guys. So I was soliciting myself under his pictures, and he actually reached out and explained to me that his platform bridges the gaps of life skills with fishing as well within the children in his community. So Jeffrey, just give us a little bit about what your mission is with your platform.
My overall goal is just to create conversation. One thing I always say to people, man, is just like let's start the conversation. And if we can get the conversation started, I feel that you may not be the person that be the reason why that person actually saw things different, but you sparked the conversation.
Definitely, definitely.
Even if you're not a part of the end result, just by you creating that conversation and dialogue, from that you can have anything. And so I've just used fishing, man, to just continue those conversations. Like I go fishing with anybody, because it's about getting out there and just you clearing your head and just saying whatever it is that you feel like you want to say. Or you may not say nothing. You just sit there and you just within yourself and just be at peace and relaxed and stress. Like it's just a natural cleanser, healer, from in my perspective. So that's what I want to make sure that I put myself in position to be able to do is just share that experience with as many people as I can.
Awesome. I think that is a very good perspective, which is one of the reasons that I wanted to start Deleasa Speaks, as we discussed, just basically publicizing those conversations. A lot of awareness on issues that we do need to address it within our community and outside of our community, within our generation as a whole. And just, broadcasting positive conversations that I feel like we're having them, but they're just not being broadcast. So I definitely agree with your mission. I'm super excited that we ran across paths, excited to just be interviewing you. Right. So tell me this. What led you to building this brand and taking it seriously and stepping away from your traditional 9-to-5 job?
So traditionally, my situation was kind of really rapid, I would say. I was given an opportunity to create my own brand and not necessarily have, I was positioned to not have to necessarily go work a 9-to-5 every day and create something that continue to push the overall conversation amongst my area. Like, I put myself in that position to do that and didn't even realize what I was doing. So that opportunity just came out of nowhere. And so it then put me in position. And then I took a pay cut too. Like, I took a significant pay cut, but it's about ownership. I own MCA. Like, MCA financially managed my entire life. Like, what people would say that, okay, cool. Like, yeah, I took a pay cut, but there's also pride in ownership.
Definitely.
And your rooms to be able to go create different forms of incomes run parallel with, ownership. So I thought when I got the opportunity to do it, man, at first it was kind of like, I don't know. But then you sit down and you think about it after a while and you be like, you know what, let's do it. And it gave me a really good shot at doing it and doing it my style.
Awesome. I definitely agree. With going ahead and doing it your style. And if it's meant for you, as you stated, you will unknowingly walk into that position of building your lane for yourself and look up and, oh, okay, this is real. This is happening.
Man, it's about just truly being you. Like, you not wanting to go step into what other people are doing. Like, I could easily say that there are guys that I look up to that's in the fiction industry, and then I go try and create the same type of content that they create. I wouldn't be being myself.
Correct.
Like, Jeffrey at him best is educating the younger generation. That's me at my best. A younger group of kids pouring into their life, like somebody poured into, like, I just so happen to have that lifestyle. Like, growing up, I grew up like I was Aiden. Like,
and that's, I think that's an overlooked blessing that people that is brought up a certain way, we're just naturally instilled with certain characteristics and perspectives on life that not until adulthood, when you actually go out into the world, you recognize that you were groomed a particular way compared to other people. Not necessarily that it's a bad thing. It's definitely rewarding to introduce that to children who wouldn't necessarily be exposed to it. So I definitely agree with that.
Absolutely. And then that's what it's all about, man. People always say pay it forward. And I think that's important. To just take all the information you've learned, failures and all, good and bad. You share those experiences because those experiences are crucial.
Definitely. So you did say that you were raised up on fishing. So tell me, where exactly were you raised and where currently does MCA reside?
So MCA currently resides in Belle Glade, Florida, which is my city. I'm actually from South Bay, though. A lot of times when I talk about the Tri-City, it's between South Bay, Belle Glade, and Pahokee, and then we also have Clewiston and Okeechobee. That's just centered around the lake. And so I'm actually from South Bay, though.
Awesome. So you were fishing just traditionally as a kid within your family?
So I had older cousins, man, that always took me out as a little kid. Aunties, grandmas. Like, I grew up around a bunch of fishing women too. So my aunties and my grandma as a kid, like, would get you out there with those old cane poles, and you just remember them sticking out the van windows and stuff like that.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, like, those are classic moments that I continue to think back and be like, dang, man, what if we could have recorded them moments? Like,
best memories. Definitely. Yeah. I can definitely remember my aunts and my grandmothers, like, us piling into one vehicle with the long cane poles. And those women would sit on buckets for hours and never complain and laugh. And we would come home, and that night we would have the best fish fries, like, ever.
Yeah, absolutely. And like it's those moments that I feel that is important that but also missed amongst this generation. And so as much as I can, man, I just want to be able to be in position to allow people to see the benefits of those moments.
Definitely. So when did fishing alter from being a hobby to being a profitable business for you?
So in doing anything, man, you got to network. You got to become you got to become whatever it is that you want to partake in. So you got to be a complete sponge to everything and everyone. You can't say, well, I don't want to listen to him or I don't want to listen to her or they can't tell me nothing or they can't tell me this. You got to be true, complete sponge. And then opportunity presents itself that when you're doing good things, people come.
I definitely agree with that. I definitely agree with that. What would you say are some of the main overlooked positive outcomes of fishing besides getting away from reality and being on the water, besides the obvious?
I just think, like you gotta always think about the fact that, you're gonna be in a much better mental space, period. Right. So that would probably be our obvious, right? But some of the other things that I think is important, just understand, how to make decisions at the right time and in the right places. There's so much about conditions and water clarity and baits and different things that you have to like find a way to be creative on your own to figure out ways to catch these fish because every day could be a different day. So you could go out today and catch, 25, 30 fish and go out tomorrow and not get a single bite. How do you respond the next day? What does the next day look like for you? Like, where's your confidence level? Like, what does that do for you? You know what I mean? Like, how you going to bounce back from it? Because you're going to have days where days are just not going to be good. You're going to have days where the conditions are just not going to be good conditions, whether it's rain, snow, or whatever it is, you still have to fish in those conditions. And so I just think, for me, man, it's just being able to make those decisions in those crucial moments. And I feel like fishing gives you the opportunity to do that too as well.
Definitely agree with that. So, with that being said, why do you feel like it's so important that we introduce fishing within our youth?
I feel like it'll help them just slow down a little bit, and I think that's all we want our kids to do right now, as parents, as teachers, as guardians, as stepfathers, or whatever. Like it doesn't matter. Like all we want our kids to do is to slow down a little bit. The difference between our generation and the generation that we're currently living in right now is just we learn things a lot slower than they do. They learn it a lot rapid. Everything is fast right now. And so I think, we want them to slow down. So fishing forces you, I'm gonna say forced, right? I'm gonna say forced. Like fishing forces you to slow down.
Definitely, 110%.
That's why I mean, and that's why I think that's the see. I would go out with people, and people would say, you know what, Jeff? Like, man, how do you spend 8 hours out on the lake, bro?
So, how do you feel like it is important to bring fishing within our community for our youth?
I think it's important just because we want them to just slow down a little bit. We want them to be able to critically think for themselves and not be so eager to just respond. And I think fishing forces them to just slow down. And I think that's so crucial because it doesn't matter the conditions while you're fishing, doesn't matter the water clarity, doesn't matter the bait you use. At some point throughout the day, you're gonna have to slow down and wait. And I think that period is so important. And I think that's something this generation is missing out on. And so, yeah.
I definitely agree with you on that aspect. I often take my nieces and my nephews, or just family, friends, children's out with us when we do go fishing, and it's a new experience. One, because they're detached from their iPads, their phones. There's really no distractions by quietness, for one.
Right.
There's a lot of teamwork because we need to set up their poles. We need to put the bait on. There's just so much teamwork that goes on, but it's a lot of room to talk. It's a lot of room, as you stated, to address your confidence, address your emotion. I just feel like the activity itself with fishing, whether it be by yourself or you with a group of people, it definitely highlights a lot of traits that you unknowingly are addressing. So I definitely agree with you on that. What would you say fishing itself I'm sure it's taught you many of things outside of the business aspect, but what would you say is the most key thing you feel like fishing has really taught you or brought out to you?
Just adaptability is what I would say. Just being able to adapt. I would say no matter the conditions, no matter whatever, like we're gonna adapt and we're gonna fish accordingly. So whether that means I gotta slow all the way down, whether that means I could be a power fisherman today. There's multiple styles to it, which what I think is making. I think that's also what makes it cool for ways to do it. You don't have to stick to one way, but for that day, however I need to fish for that day, we're gonna make sure we figure that part out. And so the only way that you can do that is to just continue to just build sponge, man. You got to get around people that are conducive to you and growing and learning. And so once you get around those people, you tend to win. So
110% agree on that. I will say for myself personally, I always broadcast my son of lacking patience. He earned it, honestly. He definitely got that negative trait from me. I will say, with us going fishing as often, well, with the COVID, it seemed like all of our traditional spots are now crowded. So we don't go as much. But for me, over the years, it has definitely taught me patience. As a woman myself, there's been times that I've broken the line or I'm trying to reline my pole, whatever it may be. And it is not the easiest task and it takes effort and I have to slow down in order to do it correctly. So it definitely for myself, I would say patience. It on every aspect of it, it has definitely taught me that for sure.
like that probably would probably be the most key thing is patience. But it offers, man, a multitude of different scenarios that you have to play out in order for you to continue to just grow. So multiple ways to kind of get that thing done. But I want to go back to something that you just mentioned, man, and you was talking about how you break the lines and, doing all this stuff. And, that's like going through those type of adversities when you've never done it. It can be extremely frustrating.
Yeah.
Almost you're like, you know what, bump this. And so when you run into those type of moments, in life, what's your response? If we went out on the lake together and we're fishing and you break off and you're like, okay, cool, I'm just gonna sit here. Like at some point you're gonna be like, I gotta put this rod back together.
Correct.
I don't want to sit here no more. Like the sun is killing me. I can't sit here and do nothing. And so same thing with life, man. When you run into those different adversities and stuff like that, your response to it has to be vital or is vital. We want to make sure that we understand all that kind of stuff because all that stuff plays into fishing. Like it's so many different scenarios and lanes you could go with it. Like that's part of the curriculum that I have. Like that's why I'm thinking as we're going and I'm like, yo, like, when you think about all the different avenues that connects to it, it makes it amazing to talk about.
No, definitely. That's why I think your platform of you evolving a curriculum and introducing it into our youth and just building a life skill itself. Fishing is a life skill. The hobby alone is introducing a life skill to the children as well as tying it to an finnet. Is that a word?
Yeah. No.
Amount of additional life skills that us as adults know you're definitely going to need in life. So I prior to our conversation, even with me writing the book and even with me raised up on fishing, I never looked at it from that viewpoint of tying it together on different aspects of life and just instilling those lessons. So I think your lane is brilliant. I think it's uncharted right now. So MCA fishing is definitely going to skyrocket. So let me ask you this, which I'm sure now that we've come across, me and my son will be bothering you for 101 fishing questions.
Okay.
For anyone who's watching this or is going to run across this, and if they've never fished, and it's something that they want to introduce for themselves or their family, what starter tips would you give them?
To make it as less expensive as possible. I think that's important. I think that a lot of times, man, we get so carried away with, products and different things like that. But I think for a parent that's just getting themselves or just positioning themselves to get out with their kids and start getting into fishing, man, Walmart is a great place to go. And for small minimum budget stuff, you can go and get you a good rod or a good reel, for under $30, under $20, in some cases. So Just start really inexpensive. You know, put your kids in front of YouTube because YouTube is right now one of our largest teachers. And so, unfortunately, we live on the grace of it. And so, definitely shout out to MCA Fishing. Y'all can check it out because you got all the tutorial kits on there. I've done already for you guys, step by step.
So, you mentioned in the beginning that you walked into the fishing industry basically uncharted territory for your community and for an African American male because it's not a predominantly, you don't see too many Black faces within the fishing sport itself.
Right.
So how is that charting uncharted territory basically?
I mean, it's about confidence too. You know, like you have to be strong, and I think that part is important. Like you just gotta be okay with that because a lot of times people are gonna like you or they're not gonna like you either way. But I was extremely confident going in as just Jeff, but you know, I'm a likable guy, I think. So it's kind of hard to just be around me, you know, because I mean I also carry myself in a very mannerable way. So it's kind of hard to be around me and just truly just not like me unless you're just, that guy.
No, definitely. So if someone comes in an industry and like myself, it was very intimidating because I didn't have basically anyone to reach out in order to get advice on what to do, what not to do, or kind of supply a blueprint. So it was very definitely discouraging. So you say that you were confident. What if someone enters the industry and they are confident and they hit that bump in the road because they're not accepted as easily as you were accepted? What will be a piece of advice would you give them to just staying intact to their main goal?
Well, I think it follows hard work, right? And I think it also follows ownership. Man, Dame Dash said something a long time ago on the Breakfast Club. He was talking about ownership, like, you being able to do it at your own pace, at your own beat. And so when you're creating your own and you're making your own brand, you don't have nobody to look over your shoulder to say, what should you do and when should you do it and what should it look like when you do it. And so I took pride in knowing that if I created it myself, you can't tell me what lane to go down. I created the lane for myself. And then now we can only partnership. And I understood the value of that. And so that's where I came with it, saying, like, you know what, I'm going to make it a company instead of just coming in under just Jeffrey Willis. I made it a full entity.
So what does MCA stand for?
So MCA basically stands for Muck City Angler. Angler just stands for the entire Tri-City area in which I was born and raised in.
Awesome. So where can they find Jeffrey, the owner of MCA, on social media platforms?
So social media, so YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter is all under MCA Fishing 21. You can't go wrong.
Easy find there.
The website is actually builtlast21.com. You can find anything about me, the journey, why it exists, and mission statements, and a little bit about my story as well is on there. And so, those are my platforms that you can definitely visit me to see what I got going on at any time.
Awesome. So last question. You made a choice to take a sport that was dear to you and build a company because you saw your calling within that lane. What advice would you give someone that is thinking about taking their side hustle and making it a full-time brand?
I would say he gave it to you. He didn't give it to mama, daddy, cousin, auntie, uncle, friends, associates, distant associates. He gave it to you. And so under all costs, you do what Meek say. Go chase your dream.
Definitely.
So I think that's important. I think a lot of times people get away from doing stuff that they know they should be doing based on what other people think they should be doing. And so they lose sight of what their real true passions and purpose is in life, chasing something that they don't even love. I love fishing. I love everything about fishing. And so it was easy to just transition into something that I knew that I wasn't even stepping on nobody else's toes. So
I definitely, guys, feel free to reach out at MCA Fishing 21.
MCA Fishing 21.
Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Go ahead and click that link and be sure to go ahead and support Jeffrey over at MCA Fishing. Again, Jeffrey, this has been a great conversation. I'm sure I will pick your brain on several future episodes. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk to you today. And I look forward to speaking to you again.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
No problem. Thank you guys for tuning in to the first episode of Deleasa Speaks. I look forward to seeing you guys as well. Bye.
Deuces.